Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And I thought tonight's Raw was okay. Wasn't terrible by any means, though. But was it a good show? No. Uh, there was some bad moments there, but I liked some stuff that was on tonight's show. But it was just an okay show. But the show opened with Big Cass coming out, saying to the crowd that he's doing spectacular today. After what he did to Enzo last night at Great Balls of Fire, and he was like, oh, he couldn't feel any better than that. He then shows photos of what he did to Enzo last night. The crowd calling him an asshole, and he says that what he did to Enzo is a message to the Raw locker room. So, Big Cass putting the Raw locker room on notice. And he goes on to say that when he wins, he says, oh, I want to win the Universal title. And he goes on to say that when he wins the Universal title, he's going to hold it up and shove it down everyone's throat. And that, he then goes on to say that he wants to be in the main event at WrestleMania. And says that nobody is bigger than him, and that he's on the top of the mountain. He has that good, heel persona there. The crowd was giving him heat. I like Big Cass so far as a heel. I heard some people say, oh, he might be champion by the end of the year. So we'll have to see how that goes. But Big Show ends up coming out. He walks down. He gets in the ring. He stares down at Big Cass, and he headbutts Big Cass, and the two end up brawling. Little brawl. But that was to end the segment. But it was a good opening segment to Raw with Big Cass. And after that, it was the first match. It was Finn Balor versus Elias Samson. Before the match even started, Elias Samson was in the ring. He was doing his horrible, shitty singing. And he basically sings about, Finn Balor, just talking about Finn Balor, saying that he's not a savior, and that tonight, he's going to knock Finn off his pedestal. And eventually Finn Balor ends up coming out, interrupting Elias's, singing, which, was good because, it was just, every time with Elias Samson, he can't even, sing for shit in my opinion. But yeah, the match was pretty good. It was back and forth between Finn and Elias. There were times that Elias Samson, was dominating through the match, just taking out Finn. But in the end, Finn won the match with the coup de grace on Elias Samson. And then after the match, Finn walks up the ramp, and you see the Hardys come out to congratulate him. And then the Hardys end up coming down to the ring. After Raw comes back from the commercial, the Hardys are in the ring. They are on the mic saying that they failed again to capture the Raw Tag Team titles last night at Great Balls of Fire. And Cesaro and Sheamus weren't even on tonight's show, which was very weird. But, the Hardys were just talking about that. And then Anderson and Gallows end up coming out saying that the Hardys are just, old. They're the old Hardy Boys. Gallows ends up calling them nerds. And they say that the ring belongs to them, Anderson and Gallows. Matt Hardy says that they want a match with them right now and, prove whose ring it belongs to. And so Gallows and Anderson end up coming down. And then it sets up the match, Gallows and Anderson versus the Hardy Boys. It was a pretty good match. Gallows, Anderson going at it. It would have been a perfect time for Cesaro and Sheamus to come out and interrupt, but they weren't on tonight's show. But it was back and forth between Gallows, Anderson, and the Hardys. And Gallows and Anderson got the win with the Magic Killer. They hit the Magic Killer on Matt. And after the match, the Revival comes out. They return to for the in-ring and for the in-ring action, but they didn't have a match though. But they come down and they just start beating the hell out of the Hardys. So I guess now the Revival and the Hardys are gonna have a feud. So that's gonna be pretty interesting. With the Revival now back. So, but all in all, Gallows and Anderson and the Hardy Boys, it was good. Anything, like I said, anything with the Hardys is entertaining. Then after that, we had Miz TV. Miz was there with Maurice and Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. It was Miz TV, but he was doing something. It was his own award show called the Mizzies. It was a pretty shitty segment, in my opinion. He gives out Mizzies to Bo and Curtis Axel for best supporting actors or whatever it was. It was very shitty. I didn't even care for this segment. He gives a Mizzy to Maurice for being the most beautiful woman there, and the next award went to him because he joked around saying, "Oh, Dean Ambrose won this award," but it was the award was really for Miz, saying that he's the greatest man in WWE. And then Dean Ambrose ends up coming out, and he just beats up on Miz, but then Bo and Curtis just start beating the hell out of him, beating the hell out of Dean, and also Miz beats him down also, so it was a 3-on-1 beat down on Ambrose. And then Seth Rollins ends up coming out to save Ambrose. So it was pretty cool, though. But it was a shitty Miz TV segment. It was boring. And then after that, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose were backstage. Dean says that he still doesn't trust Seth. After what he did when he broke up the Shield, and Dean says to him that there will be no Shield reunion, and he tells Seth to stay out of his business. So there's a little backstage segment with them both. And then the next match was Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss again. We already saw this last week, but it was okay. It was your typical women's match with Sasha just being in the match, taking down Nia Jax, and Bayley also taking out Nia. Went to that she was also taking out Alexa too, but Bayley and Sasha Banks got the win because Bayley ended up pinning Alexa. So, but it was okay. Your typical women's match. So, and then after that, Goldust was cutting a promo about R-Truth, saying that R-Truth was just made for the spotlight, and that the Shattered Truth Part 2 was coming. So it was a little okay promo from Goldust. And then after that, it was Goldust versus R-Truth. That was, in my opinion, it was a boring match. It was not entertaining. Just Goldust got the win, defeated R-Truth, so wasn't interested. In my opinion, it was pretty boring. Pretty shitty match. And then we had Kurt Angle come out. He was saying about last night, saying that Braun refused medical attention, and the show must go on. And they never gave an update on Braun's condition. But Kurt, which sucks though. And then Kurt introduces Brock Lesnar. Kurt Angle says too, the reason why he bought out Lesnar is to discuss who Lesnar will face at SummerSlam. Paul Heyman's there. He tries to leave with Brock Lesnar, but Roman's music hits. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns says, oh, he deserves a shot at the Universal title, but Brock Lesnar says to Roman Reigns, says to him that he doesn't deserve a title shot. He doesn't deserve shit. But anyways, Samoa Joe's music hits, and he comes down to the ring. Joe mentions that he's got Brock's number, and he says that Joe ends up saying to Lesnar that he kicked his ass last night and that he's gonna put him to sleep next time. Also, Joe says to Roman that Roman never beat him. Then Kurt makes a match for next week, and it's gonna be Joe versus Roman, and the winner will be the #1 contender to face Lesnar for the Universal title at SummerSlam. So it was a good segment. It was probably the best segment of the night. Because, like I said, I'm really liking this feud with Joe and Lesnar, and now Roman was being put in this segment. So, and then after the segment was over, Corey Graves received another text message, and then we saw him and Kurt Angle, and Kurt says that he has to go public with the mystery text next week, and he's gonna announce it. And Corey Graves says to Kurt that everything will be just fine, and that he doesn't have to say goodbye, because Kurt was like, oh, maybe this might be my goodbye. I might not be GM anymore. So, but Kurt says that he's gonna announce who is sending these mystery texts next week. Maybe Stephanie, and or it might even possibly be Dixie Carter, because she's not with TNA anymore, since TNA is now GFW, Impact Wrestling, which I don't even care though. But it's just that little segment with Angle and Graves. And the next match was Akira Tozawa and Cedric Alexander versus Neville and Noam Dar, with Alicia Fox there. And it was okay. Wasn't great or perfect though. But you had Akira Tozawa get his revenge on Neville, because Neville was on the top rope. He was hurt. And so Akira did the same thing that Neville did to him last night. And Neville was down. Tozawa ended the match hitting a Santon bomb. I can't pronounce a Santon bomb on Neville to score the win for him and Cedric Alexander. And tomorrow night they announced that on 205 Live, Cedric Alexander is going to be taking on Noam Dar in a I Quit match to end this feud between him and Noam Dar. So, but all in all, it was an okay match. Wasn't great or perfect. And then Seth Rollins was being interviewed about that he went out there about, tonight when he went out there to save Dean. He ends up saying that he went out there tonight just to shut Miz up. And he also talks about Bray Wyatt, saying that Bray Wyatt is still a fraud and a coward, and that tonight he's going to expose him, and he will never, and that Bray will never, hang out with Seth. And then after that, Bray Wyatt cuts a promo saying, oh, how dare that Seth took his eyes, how Seth took his eyes off him, and how he defined him. And Bray then says to Seth that he's everywhere, and that Seth will never define him again. And eventually it led to the main event, which was the rematch, Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins from last night. And it was a good match. It was a good main event. You know, both of them were just, taking out each other. They were just destroying each other. You had Seth try to break the fingers of Bray Wyatt, because Seth was stomping on them, and they were just battling back and forth. I mean, it was good. It was a good match though. But Bray Wyatt got the win with the Sister Abigail on Seth Rollins again, just like last night. And so Bray Wyatt wins 2 in a row. He won last night and won tonight, and it was pretty good. And then after the match, you had Bray disappear, and then Miz, and Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel come from the crowd to the ring, and they surround Seth, and all 3 of them beat up Seth, and then Dean Ambrose ends up coming out with the chair. He hits Bo with it, and then he hits Miz with it like plenty of times, and Curtis Axel then saved Miz. So and then they were just outside. So but all in all, Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins, the rematch, it was good. I enjoyed it though. But and then after that, Kurt Angle was on the phone, and he says for the person who's behind the mystery text to come next week, and so to tell, and so that eventually sets up who this mystery person is, and Kurt then says when he gets off the phone, he's like, "I love you," and he hangs up the phone, and then Raw just ends. So it was just that little thing though to end Raw. One thing didn't make sense though, is why was Sasha put in the match, in a tag team match tonight, when they're supposed to be announcing when she will have a rematch for the women's title against Alexa again. Now, it didn't make any sense whatsoever though. How, like I said, they just put Sasha in a tag team match tonight with Bayley, and have her and Bayley versus Nia Jax and Alexa again, where they should have just announced her rematch when she will be taking on Alexa for the Raw Women's title again. So, but that's the only thing that didn't make sense. So, but yeah. So, anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow night for my SmackDown review. So until my SmackDown review tomorrow night, I'll see you all later tomorrow night. Bye.